Tim Legler, the mothership, joining us on the program. Legs, thanks for joining us. Let me start with the Knicks, and unless you had something that's front burner for you that you want to get off your chest.
No, let's go there because I'm angry. I'm angry for a variety of reasons. I'm angry because I hate having to talk about officiating after games. And you don't want to detract from what Brunson's doing right now. I'm sure we'll talk about that. We don't want to detract from the way DiVincenzo played last night, the shot that he hit. You don't want to detract from one of the most entertaining games I watched all year, but you don't have a choice when you have what took place in the last minute of that game take place. You have to start there.
Okay, the moving screen, we may not like it, but letter of the law, the rule, was it the correct call? Maybe not the correct time to call that.
Yeah, I hear you. Letter of the law is what they're going to go to, which is ironically why this won't end up in the 2-minute report, because letter of the law is they're going to say he didn't have enough time to see the screen. Like that's what they're using. It's one of the worst illegal screen calls I think I've ever seen. And I know the context matters because it's potentially a game-winning opportunity for the Pacers coming up. So the context matters, but for me, I'm just talking about the mechanics of the actual screen, excuse me, and the amount of contact or lack thereof. That's what I'm talking about. Like that to be called at any time in any NBA game, I'd be upset about. That's how little contact there was on the play. And Dante DiVincenzo took a big risk because there's not a single person in the building, Dan, not one person, including Tom Thibodeau, or one fan or one member of that coaching staff that's going to have a problem with that not being called. No one is going to reference that play. If DiVincenzo goes to the ground, Indiana runs their set, they hit Miles Turner for a three or on a slip, and the Pacers win the game, I guarantee you no one is talking about that screen because there was that little contact on the play. So I think DiVincenzo took an incredible risk in trying to sell it to that extent where he's prone on the ground and you're now playing 5-on-4 if that's not called. The good old fashioned stay on your feet, fight over the screen, I guess, is out the window now. If guys think they can bait officials into making calls with theatrics, they're going to do it. And that's exactly what Dante DiVincenzo did. And I want to quickly say this. One of the reasons I have the big problem with it is this. The previous play, the big play in the game, and they missed the kick. They called a kick ball and it turned out it wasn't. I actually don't have a big problem with that because, okay, the refs missed it. It's not reviewable. That's just tough luck for the Pacers. Nesmith hit the ball with his hand. Pacers picked that ball up. They were going the other way with a minute to play in a tie game. Okay, there's no mechanism to look at that because it's not in the rule book. So that's just bad luck. Here's what I have a problem with, Dan. Look at that right 5 seconds before that pass, not even 3 seconds before that pass gets made by Brunson that got tipped. Dante DiVincenzo sets a screen for him at half court with two arms extended by his chin. It's a full body block on the defender. And then he also grabs onto his arm for a half a count. All that takes place literally 40 seconds before that illegal screen called on Miles Turner. And I tell you what, that screen on DiVincenzo, that better be in the 2-minute report. That's a missed call. Because if that's not in there either, the league has a real problem on their hands because now they're just, it's just like whatever you feel like interpreting in the moment is what we're going to go with.
Talking to Tim Legler, ESPN NBA analyst, former NBA player. I'm trying to come up with comps on Jaylen Brunson's game. And I don't know if I could have come up with the same comps when he played in Dallas with the way he's playing now. But I kind of liken him to Chris Paul with a better jump shot. More range, like getting into the paint, playing angles, bouncing in, bouncing out, and not necessarily beating you with athleticism as just understanding how to play the game. I don't know if you have a comp for Jaylen Brunson.
That's a good one. I think Luka Doncic is a good one. He's not nearly as big, but Luka likes to do the same thing, come off those screens and sort of get somebody, on their back and then snake dribble it out and probe and then, just time it up when you're going to shoot the little lean back jumper. He's got some of that in him. I think the one thing he's got different from Chris Paul, that some of that looks the same off ball screen. He's got a completely different mindset when it comes to scoring than Chris Paul ever did. He's got an Allen Iverson mindset about scoring. And actually the way their team operates reminds me a little bit of those Sixers teams that Iverson played on, to the extent to which he is controlling the ball with the dribble. No one dribbles the ball in the more over the course of a season than Jaylen Brunson, and their offense can't function without it. because they've got guys that clearly are stepping up, and on a given night, different guys play well for them. DiVincenzo and Josh Hart last night. Some nights it's been Hartenstein, and Anunoby has helped. It's different guys on different nights. None of it works without Jaylen Brunson's ability to put the ball in the basket at the extent to which he is, and to hunt shots to the extent with which he is. Randall is the other guy that creates offense for them, and he's not out there, so it's all on Brunson. So, Dan, I'm telling you, there's one person on the planet that believes Jaylen Brunson was capable of this, and it's Jaylen Brunson. I don't think there's another person alive, including his own dad, Rick, who I've known forever, that saw this coming. You're talking about a guy that's become one of the most unstoppable offensive forces in the playoffs we have seen in our lifetime. That is what we are watching right now with Jaylen Brunson.
I know. And you watch his game, and it's pretty simplistic.
Yeah.
It's nothing where you go, like Anthony Edwards, we're trying to compare him, and it might be to Kobe, Mike. Reggie Miller said Dwayne Wade with a better jump shot. Well, how would you compare? Is there a comp for you with Ant-Man?
It's in a lot of the stuff that he's doing right now, I think the best combination are, and look, I'm big on not getting ahead of ourselves, but you start throwing names out there with guys that have accomplished what Michael Jordan and Kobe did, people think it's blasphemous. So we're not doing that. What we're saying is you kind of see similarities in the way they're attacking. The physical profile is the same. The athleticism is the same. The killer instinct is the same. The intensity, playing both ends of the floor. All of that stuff is the same as those guys. And it's special when you have all of that in one body. And what he has done now, he's elevated his game, Dan, to where he has combination dribbles now to get to his jump shot. Combination dribbles when the first defender or the first attempt at defense works. It's successful. It cuts him off. It plays him well. What's your counter? He didn't have that when he first came into the league. I don't think he had it at Georgia. He's got it now. And he's put a lot of work in on it. And so now there is no route of escape that's not available to him. Whether that means getting into a mid-range jumper or a deep step back, he can do that. He's making it at a higher rate than he ever has. Or it means a counter move that leads to a quick burst attack drive to the rim. He could do either. And if he's just one-dimensional with his handle or one-directional with his handle, you can't do a lot of these things, and you end up taking shots that are more advantageous to the defense. That now is something he's moved beyond. And it's right before our eyes over the last few months. And it's been really incredible to watch. I'm a huge fan because I love his demeanor. I love how intense he is. He did not want to allow any breath of life delivered to Denver last night. That was their intent in one of the most suffocating defensive halves of basketball I've ever watched.
And they didn't even have Rudy Gobert. If I said you could buy the stock, Anthony Edwards, or buy the stock, Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, I'd still go Wemby. I think that when you look at what potentially the upside is for Victor Wembanyama, a lot of the same characteristics that Anthony Edwards has. He can escape off the dribble. He can shoot turnaround jumpers. He can shoot step backs. But he's also a guy that can make plays defensively with ground he covers and length and a final rim deterrence, that he's the only player in the league that can make those plays. And I'm including Giannis. I'm including Embiid. There's no one in the league that can cover the ground and be a last line of defense, having covered that much ground the way Victor Wembanyama can. Every night I watched Victor Wembanyama the second half of the year, I felt like I saw a play, at least one play in that game, that I felt like that's the only player in the league that can do that. And so when you combine all of what he can do, the scoring, the defense, eventually at the passing, we'll get there as well. I just think, man, with a 7'5" frame and handle like a guard, this is uncharted territory here that we're getting to with Victor Wembanyama.
I don't know if they do altered shots. It's like when you do pressures on a quarterback. Pressures on a quarterback mean more than a sack on a quarterback. And I alter your shot. I might not block it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they have stats for altering shots, but Victor Wembanyama had to lead the league in that.
Well, I'm going to tell you something that it would be impossible to track, and I'm just going to go back to my own experience. The best shot blocker I ever played against was Hakeem Olajuwon. And I can tell you right now, Hakeem Olajuwon altered some of my drive attempts, and he never moved, okay? Because between the ears, I know what's back there. And I know how quick he is off his feet. Like he would bait you into shooting a shot on a drive when it looked like he was conceding the layup. And then he'd just jump cat-like quick and flick it away. And it messes with your head. And I think that there's a whole level there psychologically of deterrence that Victor Wembanyama brings to the table that you can't even put in a tangible way on a stat sheet. There's no way to chart that because you don't know to what extent he affected a guy psychologically or visually what he was looking at.
Is the Lakers' job a coveted job?
I wouldn't say so. I really wouldn't. And I was thinking about it, and I thought my colleague Brian Windhorst had a great point on this yesterday, in breaking down why it's not. And I was like, man, this makes a lot of sense. First of all, the expectation level is unrealistic right now. If you're talking about the Lakers' job right now, and that's what we're talking about here, because it's open, the expectation level is unrealistic. I know they've got LeBron James and Anthony Davis still playing at a high level. That roster is not built for the regular season. Those two players aren't built for the regular season. So as a result, when you have these young teams that are deeper, more athletic, also have top tier star talent, Anthony Edwards, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, go right up and down the line. You're going to be coming from a place in the West where you're a play-in team, where you're scrambling to get into the 8th spot. And then you've got to play one of these powerhouses in the first round, and you're going to go home. And that's not going to get easier. It's going to get harder. LeBron James turns 40 next year. Anthony Davis played 76 games. When's he going to do that again? So right off the bat, just because of the name power, people think you can go compete and contend. You can't. You can't. Not in this Western Conference, not with the way your roster's built and your stars at the age they are, not caring all that much about the regular season. So that's one thing. And then secondly, if things don't go right and you don't win, you're blamed. No matter what, you are the one that is to blame. It doesn't matter. I don't think Darvin Ham is to blame for what happened there. They went to the conference finals last year and probably ran into a team they couldn't beat. This year, the regular season's an absolute mess. They get hot late. They get into the playoffs. They lose to the same team because they just can't compete with that team. I don't blame Darvin Ham for that. He's a scapegoat. Both of those players were passive-aggressive in their approach to the comments about him, or they could have saved his job. They didn't want to. So now we'll see who the next person is to fill that role on a team that is more in the decline than on the rise.
You got the Celtics double-digit favorites against the Cavs. You got the Mavericks at the Thunder. Any surprises in these two series?
I don't think so. I like Dallas to win that series, and I don't know that a lot of people are picking that. I think Luka Doncic controls the series. I think the way he played in the last 2 games of the Clippers series showed me that he felt better physically. That I didn't like the way he played the first 4 games. He was missing too many shots. In the first 4 games of that series, I believe he missed 36 threes. He missed 62 shots, and he gets the shot he wants, and he's not making it. It's flat. It was short. I'm like, he doesn't have lift. It really hurt their offense. They got to 2-2. Game 5 was a Luka game, and he absolutely dominated and controlled that game, and I think he's going to have a lot of the same success in this one. I also think Lively and Gafford are going to have a lot of success in this series because Oklahoma City is small. Chet Holmgren's the one big. He likes to go after shots. When Luka and Kyrie drive, you're going to see Chet going to get those. That's when he's susceptible to that lob from behind or the pocket pass to those guys. And they averaged a lot of nights, did every 24 and 15 with 5 blocks. Like that was a normal night for the 2 centers. It wasn't that way in the early part of the Clippers series. You're going to see that return, I think, in this series. It'll be a great series. I think Dallas wins it in 6 or 7. If it goes to a 7th game, my money's still going to be on Luka Doncic in that situation. I don't think Boston gets really challenged. At no point will we be wondering if they're going to win the series. Maybe Cleveland gets 1 or 2 games, but we're not going to be in doubt about how that's going to go.
Good to have you all fired up here, Legs. It's playoff legs here. I like it.
I am ready to roll. And here's one more reason, real quick, Dan, why I'm mad. I'm also mad for this reason. I think Jamal Murray is likely to get suspended, and I'm calling game 3. I'm going to be with Mark Jones calling that game on Friday night in Minneapolis. And I was really hoping selfishly to have a 1-1 series where that game meant everything. And the Nuggets at full strength. At worst case, down 2-0, Nuggets at full strength. Let's see their best punch. I think Jamal Murray is likely to be suspended for throwing that hot pack onto the court when he was, I think, trying to hit the official. He missed him.
Yeah.
That would be enough to get suspended. He goes onto the court. Somebody could have got hurt. I don't know how the league ignores this. I don't know how you just forget and act like that didn't happen for the precedent you need to set going forward. I don't want it to happen. I really don't. I love Jamal Murray, but I don't know how the league gets around it.
Safe travels, Legs. Thanks as always, buddy.
Thanks, Dan.
That's Tim Legler. We'll take a break. Back after this.